Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of What the Health Just Happened, where we talk about all things healthcare, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, and everything in between. We also bring on a variety of business owners, business leaders, community advocates, nonprofits. I think a semi-musician today. We're going to talk about that. Anyways, I think we bring on some cool people here. We talk about stuff healthy versus unhealthy in business and life. You ready for me to butcher your intro? This is my favorite part.
Yes, let's do that, yes.
Is butchering intros.
Yes, I like
Greg
that.
Davis, right?
Yes.
Founder of Azola Creative.
Yes.
You're clearly in marketing because he sent me a Word document, very clean, beautiful.
right.
The title, I like this, Music, Mental Health, and Marketing Mindset. Here comes the bio. Greg Davis of Azola Creative specializes in creative thinking for increased marketing success. He is an international recording artist turned marketer who writes and performs product marketing melodies. That was in quotation marks with my hands, by the way. To entertain and educate audiences about best marketing practices. He helps B2B behavioral healthcare companies scale and maximize product adoption across independent and system-owned hospitals. Oh,
That's right.
We got it
It's
out.
big stuff. It's
We
big
got it
stuff.
out. That was a mouthful. That was a mouthful. So, Greg, we met through the Jack's Chamber, SBLY. This is predominantly a local show. We aired on the podcast, but
Yeah.
how do we meet? Let's talk about your business.
Yeah, sure. So really we met because in 2023, I was the Small Business Leader of the Year for the IT Council for Jack's Chamber. And part of the process, what you go through when the SBLY program is that the incoming SBLYs are interviewed by the outgoing SBLYs. And so you being this year's SBLY for the Health Council gave me an opportunity to really, it's a great opportunity to get to meet everybody who's involved and kind of learn more about your business. And so then, in talking to you, kind of gave us an opportunity to connect a little bit more and brought us to where we are now.
Yeah. And again, so I tell people all the time, like, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, everyone thinks, well, it's called What the Health Just Happened. It's mostly about healthcare. I'd say it's probably, Trey, 50% healthcare?
If that.
Yeah, it's going more and more towards healthy versus not healthy business in life. But you do some stuff in healthcare. Marketing is your specialty, and I'm not going to butcher that. But let's hear Azola Creative. What is it? What's your background? You got some cool stories. You traveled the world. You got a guitar over there. We may have a jam session. But yeah, tell that story.
All right, so I'll try to make this short and sweet, but the quickest I can. Early in my career, I worked in the music industry, so I used to work with some international recording artists. Had an opportunity for myself. I had a song that I'd written that was on college radio all across the country. And
What year?
this is early 2000s, so roughly 04, 05.
So was it like what genre of music was your song?
Like pop rock, alternative rock, that kind of
Okay.
thing. And actually, a lot of my stuff is probably, as you'll hear, there's a lot of parody in the things I do, even when it was just for my own stuff. And so the song I had was called Pretty Pop Star. And it was basically just kind of making fun of the music industry and how my experience being there was that, I would see these amazing artists submit their music, but the people were always like, but what do they look like? And it was a lot of that kind of talk. And so I saw just really phenomenal talent that never made the light
Never
of
got a
day
shot.
because it wasn't, they didn't have the look that people were looking for. So that's kind of where the song came from that I made fun of.
So college radio, right?
Yeah.
Music industry.
Yeah, and then really I got to a point it kind of became burnout. I was doing a gig in New York City, and I remember the whole time I was playing, I was not enjoying it. And I just, at the end of the night, I was like, I'm done with this. And I just packed up my gear, went home, and that was kind of it. I just put it away for a long, long time. And so the thing that happened with that, though, that kind of leads into marketing, is that one of the things I found that I really loved about the music business was not all of the playing and all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes with the business part of it as far as the music industry. But I loved the marketing part of it. I loved promoting bands. I loved doing a lot of that kind of work as well as for myself or other artists. And I really enjoyed that. So I wanted to make that switch and get more into the digital space. At this point, digital marketing was still very, very new. And I got really lucky and found this family that they were out of Brooklyn, but they were originally from Moldova, which is basically former Soviet Union country. And these guys had built an e-commerce business that was phenomenal. I mean, they were doing amazing work.
What year was that?
Again, this is now we're probably in 05, 06.
Again, I'm just trying to put a timeline here too, right? So 01 feels like forever ago. It's not.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
e-commerce, when that's really taken off with eBay and that stuff.
Exactly.
2005.
It was still so new that most people you had to explain what e-commerce was. They were still not used to the idea. And this business, in fact, were, when they first started, they were taking orders over the phone, just filling out people's credit card information. There was no PCI compliance where you're like, it was none of that kind of stuff that you could actually just sell it online. So it was very new, very Wild West. And what was really cool about this was really the reason they hired me was because they had all of the intelligence they needed for it. They just needed somebody who could kind of write and do marketing for them in American speak. Because they had a very formal English that they learned.
Yep.
So they brought me in really just to kind of do that. But in doing that, they taught me anything and everything around e-commerce, SEO, pay-per-click, affiliate, all these things that, again, are very familiar to a lot of people now, but it was very early on.
Yeah.
And they taught me from the ground up. And so it was a phenomenal experience because, I took a lot of hits as far as starting over my career and doing that, but it changed the trajectory as far as where I went. And so I'm always happy that I made that decision.
Brooklyn. Were you living in Brooklyn at the time?
No, I wasn't living in Brooklyn. I was in New Jersey, and that's actually how I met them. At the time,
that's worse than Florida.
New Jersey is a beautiful state.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
I'm going to defend New Jersey.
You can.
But like by the time, that's why I said they started this place in out of their apartment in Brooklyn. But by the time I joined them, they were in a warehouse, and then by the time I left, they were moving into an even bigger warehouse, and I was just blown away. So it sent me on a path of getting into everything around e-commerce. And that's a lot of, I'm not in the e-commerce space like I used to be, but it's a fundamental core as far as like what my philosophy is on a lot of things. A lot of things what I do with businesses, I always say I want you to have more of an e-commerce mindset because the efficiency and how you market and sell things by doing e-commerce blows everything else away. That's why so many other businesses now are on board with it. I want to take service companies, things that are a little clunky, a lot of custom stuff, and try to productize it down so they can actually be sold more efficiently the way you would if it was an e-commerce business.
And that came from that background.
Yeah.
In this family specifically.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's one of those big, one of the best decisions career-wise I made.
Did you go to college? What did you study?
No, so I did some college, but I was never. I was all about music at that age.
Yep.
I mean, like
traveling, jamming.
It was all about that. Like I didn't care about, it was almost like the only reason I would have gone to college is because you're supposed to, but not because I felt I needed it. Because I was just like, I can do this and just get out there and do it.
Again, I like these stories. It's an example. People say like, who's your audience? Sometimes we don't know. It could be a 65-year-old. It could be a 25-year-old, right? But you don't have to go to college. You went the musical path. Decided you didn't want to do that. Then you went in the e-commerce world. So when did Azola Creative start? You're based in Jacksonville. I know you bounced around different areas. How'd you end up here?
Yeah, so I had started an e-commerce development company with a friend, and we had been running that for several years. And then we both were sort of, again, kind of wanting to get out of that e-commerce space. And so we kind of dissolved that, and I went into a lot of ways I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do because I had always just been in the e-commerce world for a long time, and you get kind of stuck in your ways when you're in that. And so from that, I started doing things where, I was kind of doing a little bit of everything. I'll plug something else just for those because it's local. I attended the Jax Bridges program, which is run by the
Carlton.
Chamber. Yeah, Carlton.
Yeah,
so
everybody loves Carlton.
Yeah, so that was a really, really good thing for me to do as well because here's the question they asked, and I love this question, and it changed the way I thought about things. The question they asked was, how are you going to turn this business into $1 million business? And when I started looking at what I was selling and what I was doing, I'm like, I can't get to $1 million. I can't scale to that point doing what it is I'm doing because it's spread too thin. The money's just not there. So that kind of helped me reshape the way I did it. So what I went into, really what kind of helped me evolve is I started focusing largely on product because, again, from the e-commerce standpoint, I've seen anything and everything be sold successfully online through e-commerce stores. So there's nothing you can't sell through e-commerce.
Give me a weird one. What's a weird thing?
A weird one, plumbing would be one where you're buying plumbing services through e-commerce, but it was almost like a marketplace where you might buy the parts from the plumber's website, and then you're having a plumber that actually comes to the house to install it for you and things like that. There were this brand that used to be they were called Punk My Chucks. And so they would take the Chuck Converse shoes, do all kinds of graffiti art on it, and then sell it online. One guy had an idea. It never took off, but I thought it was a fun idea. It was called Pity Party. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to sell this paper that was water soluble, and he wanted you to basically just go to the site, plug in what you're griping about, what the thing is that's just, you're annoyed with, and he would ship you a rock with this paper wrapped around with whatever your pity story was. And the idea was you throw it in the river or in the ocean or whatever it is, and that way you're getting rid of it. You're kind of absolving yourself from it. So I thought it was a really fun idea. He just never really got off the ground.
So back again, e-commerce background. We talked about this a bunch. You want to talk about productizing, and we can pivot to the behavioral health stuff now or wait on it. But Zola Creative specifically. So what do you?
I always say to people, I transform your products into a sales engine. And what I mean by that is that you want to be able to productize anything that you do so where it's repeatable. A lot of companies focus heavily on custom work, and that's the nature of doing business sometimes, is that sometimes you're asked, can you do it? And you say yes, and then you figure out how to do it. Well, the problem is that you end up being in a situation where every opportunity becomes custom because you're almost trained to be that way and you're adaptable. But the problem is it's harder to predict your profitability in those scenarios. It's a lot harder to repeat the success of what you had because you're constantly redoing it. So what I try to do is help people productize the things they do so that it's a little bit more manageable, efficient, and makes it easier to sell. I always use the example of a car. A car has 36,000 parts. You don't buy those 36,000 parts custom every time. You buy a car and you can choose whether it's black or white or blue or whatever color. You can choose whether it has a sunroof or not. All those little additions, that's your room for customization. But 80% of the car is the same for everybody, and the 20% is the custom stuff. So if companies can adopt more of that philosophy, it makes it easier for them to actually sell faster. And again, just becomes more efficient because everything's kind of, you're not constantly trying to reinvent the wheel.
So, how are you getting business? Is it word of mouth? Do people research productizing my industry?
Okay. So now we're going to get, there's definitely a lot of search terms that are in that world. So again, I get a lot of national business and international business that come to me because of SEO. So I focus on certain keywords that might be around product positioning or product marketing, things like that. And that's how some people find me. Other people do find me because of word of mouth. A word of mouth opportunity is always best.
Yeah.
And so whenever that can happen, it's great. Usually when I'm working with companies, I tend to work with, on the product side, the consulting side of it, I tend to work with kind of mid-sized companies. I say mid-sized in the idea that they're maybe $5 to $50 million in revenue.
I was going to say, what's your definition?
Yeah.
Depends who you talk to.
So basically, and because where that sweet spot is for them is that most companies in that size don't have a full-scale marketing team yet. They may not even have a marketer at all on their team, and they need help there. And so they're ready to grow and expand, but they need help in getting there. And so that's where I kind of fit in really nicely to kind of help them understand how they got to where they are and help them build a plan out for where they're going to get to in the future.
Yeah, here comes Trey.
So, all right. So let's say I hire you to help my video production company streamline a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
How long does that relationship last with you? Is it yearly? Is it monthly? How do you go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can depend. It can be monthly sometimes, but sometimes it's kind of like a project base. So based on the scope of what it is you're trying to do and how many products you have, it may be that it's 3 months of working with you. It could be a year. I just actually am working with a client that I've been with for 3.5 years now. And so it really does vary depending on where you are. And sometimes new opportunities kind of arise because as we start to figure this stuff out, you see the next layer of the onion, so to speak, to where you understand there's some new opportunities of what you could do. So it really does depend on the scenario.
The companies you're working with, you're saying do they not have marketing in-house? They don't want to hire I'm not saying you're a small shop, but I'm saying, like, how do they decide whether to work? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but a lot of times it is that they don't have marketing in-house, or they might have a marketing person, but that person might still be a little more entry level, and they need somebody who has a little bit more depth of experience from a strategic standpoint. And so, the person they have might be doing the day-to-day marketing stuff that you need to do. Maybe they're sending emails and doing social posts or SEO, something like that. But strategically, they may not either have the bandwidth to really focus on that, or they may just not have the experience of building out full-scale products like that and launching it. So that's where kind of, again, I come in typically in those scenarios.
We talked, I don't even know what day it is now. Did we talk this week or last week?
Yeah, I think it was this week.
It was this week. I like to have the prep calls first because we get to know each other a little better to get some nuggets. I wrote some stuff down here. There's 2 lines I want to read. This one first. You love talking about marketing, but you love talking about music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, look, at the end of the day, I know I got burned out on music, but it's still a passion. I still love it. And, but the thing for me is that when it came to music, I was never a cover band kind of guy. I didn't like to play other people's songs. Like I wanted, if you came to see my show, I don't care if it was 3 people or 3,000. I want you to come because of what I wrote. That's what excites me. Now in the marketing world, it excites me helping people because it's like I have that dream too, and I want to help people achieve whatever dream it is they're trying to do. And I have the capability to help them through my knowledge around what I know how to do when it comes to launching and promoting products. So what I've been working on lately is kind of merging those two together, which I think we'll probably get to later on in the show.
We got a guitar over there. There's definitely gonna be some music at some point. Another line here, and again, I got a couple to talk about. 80% of CEOs don't trust marketers.
Yeah, huge problem. So
is
why.
Is there research backing that?
I mean, there's a lot of research backing that, and
because they suck. Trey's over there because they suck.
I just real quick, I feel like that's a pretty credible amount, just because I think most marketers are just blowing smoke. So that's why I'm kind of really interested to hear kind of what your take.
So see, that is the problem I'm trying to help overcome with a lot of what I'm doing. There's some other stuff I do around training that focuses on that, because the problem is, marketing is successful, but a lot of it's the marketing mindset of the people who hire the marketer. They don't know how it works, and so they don't understand what's happening in the background sometimes. And so part of it is CEOs just not getting it. That's why a lot of companies don't have marketing teams, because they're like, we don't need marketing. Or maybe, again, or definition of marketing can mean something different. You walk into a room, everybody's got their own version of what marketing might mean. And the reality is that it's multi-billion-dollar industry. If it didn't work, it's not just because people are selling something. It's like if it didn't work, it wouldn't be as big as it is. It's just that you have to find the right solution for your particular product or brand, because it's not a one-size-fits-all either. And there's a lot of testing. Like marketing is very behavioral science, in that by you not buying from me, or by clicking on a link, or by doing something, you're telling me things that you're interested in. And as a marketer, I can learn more about you and find the right message, find the right price, or whatever it is to kind of help move the needle.
I will be the first to admit I've sat in, like, I've worn a lot of hats, right? I've sat in different positions, and some I've loved, some I've hated. Is there a marketing component to some of those roles? Of course, right? I feel like at the end of the day, all of us are selling or marketing something in some scenario, right? But the term marketing, this is recently, since we started this radio show, which has been over a year. That's crazy. I still don't get marketing. Like, are we missing a ton of value and opportunity? Probably. But I mean, again, I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to pay someone money to post on social media sites this content. Like, I just enjoy doing it, but I don't know. I'm an example of, I don't know anything about marketing.
But so, here's the problem, is that there are also people out there who are paying for that, and they're not getting the value out of it, but in their head, they think it is valuable. So that's where, like, that's an 80% thing, is that you have to get the mindset right, so that I never like for people to buy marketing from me when they don't understand. So a lot of I'm a little bit of a teach the teacher kind of thing, or whatever you want to say that, is that I want the people to hire me to understand what it is I'm doing and why, because I don't want to have that conversation 3 months or 6 months from now to where they're saying, you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so you're going to jump to the next marketing agency or the next marketer, and they're going to say same thing about them. So it's not the next shiny object. It's about actually knowing how to perfect what you're doing, because you're dealing with people here. There's no exact science to it, and so that's why you have to massage it and nurture it over time, and then it becomes more successful. And some things don't work. I could do the same thing, the exact same thing, for 3 or 4 different clients, and it might work for 2 of them, and the other 2 it doesn't work. Same strategy, it's just that it wasn't right for their particular company.
I just thought of a business name, the Marketing Massagers. I'm talking massages. That's a bad joke.
That might get some interesting business.
I almost got an eye roll from Trey there. He said somewhere, that's terrible. How much time we got left? 5 minutes. Is this song less than 5 minutes?
Or
should we wait?
Well, we can wait. It's up to you.
Second half?
I've got a good question.
Let's talk about it, lead it into it. You got a question that I want to lead into it the second half, so that we can set it up coming out of the commercial break.
All right, I'll make it super quick. But 1, do you have any music clients that you service? And 2, what was your favorite venue you ever played?
Oh gosh. So I don't have any more music clients now. I years ago, yes, definitely, but not anymore. As far as a venue goes, it's hard for me to think. I'm going to just say, I can't even remember. I'm so bad with names. It's like, I was talking to you before the show, there was a recording studio. It's driving me nuts. I can't remember it right now. That was my favorite place to ever get to play, because this recording studio is in Sausalito, California, and it's where bands like Metallica and Fleetwood Mac and Elton John, you name it, every big artist that's ever done something has recorded in this studio. And that was my favorite moment because you just felt like you could just feel it in your
All the
bones.
talent
You know, it's just like
floating around,
all the history and success that came out of this. And again, it's driving me crazy. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm horrible at remembering. I forget things. Like I could work with a client. This is horrible to admit, but
no, it's not.
I can
It's
work
great.
with,
It's
I can
reality.
work with
Yeah.
a client and a couple years later, I'm like, what did we do? You know, it's like
Wow.
it's almost like I just dump it out of my brain. I move on to the next thing. So-
I always say I have limited space in my brain, so when something new comes in, something old has to go out. That's what I
yeah,
tell my
so-
wife every time. I want to mention this too because coming out of the commercial break, we'll do maybe just straight into the music and then switch the mic, and then switch the mics back to healthy or not healthy. So, music, right? We talk about music,
Yeah.
mental health, marketing mindset, product marketing melodies. Right, so you make these musical parodies about the trials and tribulations of business and marketing,
Yeah.
used to help educate and entertain event attendees.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I can sit here till I'm blue in the face and just tell you that you don't understand marketing and potentially offend you, you know, or
can't
I
offend
could
me,
or I
but-
could get into an argument about it, you know, which I've had those too, you know, and so I really want people to understand. It's really important to me that 80% rule can change because I don't want people to doubt marketing. I want to build the trust between CEOs and marketers.
Yep.
And one of the best ways I can do that, and one of the ways that makes me excited, and this kind of started with last year when I was doing the SBLY stuff. I didn't want to just get up there and just kind of talk. So I started doing these product marketing melodies as a way to, like I said, educate and entertain.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm excited. Oh, we got a couple minutes left.
Okay, good.
So I'm getting like songwriter, right? We see a guitar.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
The first live. There's been a couple people that said they would play music. We actually had a band on one time at Lynch's Irish Pub. That was one of my favorite episodes. But I love what you're doing. It's a unique approach, talking about marketing. Is there like some self-deprecation in there, making fun of your industry?
Sure, absolutely.
the best.
Yeah. It's kind of making fun of everybody in the way that we're all laughing together versus we're not laughing at anyone, but we're all kind of laughing together.
I'm not
at what
kidding
we
you.
do.
We need like. I'm gonna have to think of song. Are these over songs? Like you're redoing a popular song?
Yeah. So basically,
Okay.
I take, I like to say it's kind of like if you took Weird Al Yankovic and Seth Godin and they had a love child. Like that's what I'm
I
trying
love
to
Seth
do with
Godin,
this.
by the way,
So
too.
it's like it's trying to combine the two together, make people laugh, but play. The hardest part is finding songs that they have to be so in the fabric of our psyche that we know it. Even if we don't listen to that kind of music, it has to be so well known. Otherwise, it doesn't translate well for people.
Yeah.
Like I can't just play something I think is one of my favorite songs. It has to be something that is very popular.
I want to do like 10 parodies on human resources, health insurance, making fun of healthcare. I mean, there's a lot of good content
Yeah.
out there.
No, I mean, and that's like, look, I've offered that to businesses where, if they want something, like if they have an event and they need somebody to come in and kind of, again, make a song up about their brand or just make something, just to get people laughing because it just changes the energy in the room when you can pull out the guitar. It doesn't even matter what I say sometimes. It's just the fact that I'm doing something that's
Yeah.
kind of funny. And the fun thing for me is, when I start playing and they don't know what to expect, because they'll hear the song and they're like, oh, this is pretty. Or, I hear people mutter things like that. And then I start singing and then you got that 10-second delay and people start laughing because they're starting to get the joke now. And so it kind of takes off.
Greg Davis, founder of Azola Creative. Second half coming out of this commercial break and the podcast, if you're listening on the podcast in a couple days, we're going to do some product marketing melodies
Yes.
with the founder of Azola Creative, Greg Davis. That's what the hell just happened.
Hello, silence, my old friend. I sent an email once again. I would have thought you would reply this time. Put an emoji in the subject line. Now I don't know if you saw it or if it's spam in your trash can. And so I wait in silence, and now I'm trying SEO. What that means I do not know. And I'm gonna post on Instagram. No one saw it, marketing's a scam. I'd be better off if I did nothing at all. Watch some baseball and wait for sales in silence.
Okay, welcome back to the second half of What the Health Just Happened. That's the first time we've had some homemade intro music, by the way.
There you go.
So there's Trey and Justin clapping. We got, if you missed the first half and you're catching this on the radio, this will be available on your favorite podcast platform next week. If you're catching this on the podcast, you just played a jam. That was, again, you wrote that. It's based off of what song? The original song, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah,
you said.
Simon and Garfunkel, Sound of Silence.
Hello,
And so,
darkness.
Yeah, my
Yes.
old friend.
So again, that was hysterical. I like that. That's creative. That's unique. So at events, you're doing this, poking fun of pitting sales versus marketing against each other, by the way.
Yeah, it's just kind of a fun way to get people's attention. And then, again, everybody's sort of part of the joke because, a lot of people don't know what these terms are. A lot of people are doing things. They have those doubts, just like Trey was saying. It's like, a lot of marketing people believe it's just voodoo and it doesn't really work. And so it's kind of just a fun way to bring people into the conversation and just laugh about the fact that, a lot of people do things they don't even know what they're doing.
That is the first music we've had on the set yet. I was going to say, we need to start doing that more often. How much money do you think is wasted annually on SEO?
Well, boy, I'm gonna.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, because here's the thing: SEO is very, very effective, but you have to have. There's different ways in which you can capitalize on it, and so it's kind of hard to say like waste of money because it's really effective actually. But if you don't have the right strategy, it goes back to the strategy. None of this stuff is a waste of time if you have the right strategy for it. So SEO. Here's the problem with SEO.
That was a horrible question. That was a terrible way to ask that question.
This goes into the marketing mindset stuff. I say to people, SEO is like a pregnancy. It takes a good 9 months before you start to see the effects of SEO. So if you launch an SEO strategy and are expecting to see results in 2 or 3 months, you're unrealistic with your expectations. Just like with a baby, you're not expecting them to feed themselves and walk and crawl at 3 months. That's the same thing with SEO. You have to give it, at a minimum, you have to give it 9 months, if not longer, before you're going to see the effects. But here's the thing. You do it right, the lasting effect of that outweighs it for a long time. So you might do a lot of work for 9 months to a year, and you're going to see the benefit of that for a few years. And so that's why it's worth doing. But you always have to be thinking farther ahead when you're doing something like that.
I love multiple things you said there. One, any metaphor, like it's like a pregnancy, it takes 9 months. That's good. I can add that up, figure it out. And the question I asked was a terrible question. I just think of some people that are, I don't want to say snake sales oilmen, like the same thing in our industry, right?
Yeah.
Health insurance, employee benefits, every industry. Pay me X amount of dollars for your SEO when they don't know what they're doing. The business they're selling to doesn't understand the gravity of search engine optimization and how to use it. So forgive me for a terrible question. We're going to do healthy or not healthy. What do you think? I'm saying I got to think of some healthier. Healthy or not healthy, writing your own music?
Healthy.
Healthy or not healthy, being a full-time musician?
Oh, gosh. Unhealthy with a little touch of healthy. Look, there's a lot. Yeah. I mean, all you got to do is look around the music industry. You can see that.
There is some unhealthy out there.
Yeah.
Healthy or not healthy, search engine optimization?
Healthy.
Okay. Healthy or not healthy, social media platforms?
Unhealthy.
For marketing.
For lead generation, unhealthy. For branding, healthy.
I like that. We might pivot to that.
Can you explain
So,
why not?
Trace over this. So he said for lead generation, not healthy. For branding, healthy.
Here's what I mean by that. So when you look at there are averages out there around a conversion rate that happens, from a website standpoint, from email marketing, everything has a conversion rate, meaning how many people clicked on it and signed up or did whatever action. Social media has the absolute lowest click-through rate for lead generation. I mean, we're talking like 0.02% or something like that. It's really low. Branding-wise, though, it can be very effective because if you know the brand, if they're providing some valuable content, it can actually help you kind of build a rapport with them online to where you're seeing the things that they're posting. And you can generate leads. I'm not going to say you can't generate leads from it or sales. Again, if you're doing e-commerce, doing Facebook can be very effective for you, or doing Instagram or Pinterest could be effective for you. But again, it goes back to it depends on the business.
Yep.
But a lot of times people put too much effort into social media, and it's not a lead generation tool. It is more of a branding tool to me.
Okay, healthy or not healthy, email newsletters?
Absolutely healthy.
That's like a big thing right now.
Let me tell you about email.
Yeah.
Email marketing is still one of the best marketing channels from an ROI standpoint. A lot of people think that it's not because you get tons of emails in your inbox, you don't pay attention to a lot of them, you delete them or whatever. But it's about the right message at the right time. And so consistency is critical in everything you do from a marketing standpoint, but email marketing, you have to be consistent. That's where newsletters really pay off, because it's an opportunity for me to keep building a relationship with you and nurturing that relationship without asking for a sale. I'm just trying to educate you about something. And so then at the right time, the right message, it might pop.
I will tell you, so that I don't even know how many newsletters I somehow signed up for. There's 3 or 4 that I follow and read consistently. And I'm telling you right now, like I buy stuff from these 3 to 4 newsletters.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it is from building trust, the content they put out. So,
yeah.
Okay. Email newsletters. What do you think, Trey? Should we build one of those? He's like, nah, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. Okay, let's go to the marketing mindset. So you got a Zola Academy. You got a 7-day business marketing. I'm just interested. People ask.
No.
I just get to sit down and I'm like, I've learned multiple things selfishly. I'm like, give me some more nuggets
Absolutely.
here, buddy.
Don't give me a mic. I won't shut up. So it's like, but so I'll tell you about this. So it goes back to the 80% thing. What I don't want to have, as you said, like, the snake oil salesman kind of mentality. I don't want that to be the reputation that marketing has, because it can be effective for you. But I also understand the nature of the business is that it's self-preservation. And so there are going to be people out there selling you things, and they may have the best intent, but they just may not have been the right fit. And so I won't say that everybody out there is a shark, but there are some sharks out there, like anything. But so what I'm trying to create is an environment where marketers, number one, get to actually collaborate with each other, to where, the reality is, like, I don't know everything, and my perspective is through my lens, and so other people have different success levels. I want to have an opportunity where people can communicate with each other and kind of be vulnerable in the sense that, hey, I don't know how to do this particular thing a client might be asking for, or my boss might be asking for. And so I created this Azola Academy, which the idea behind it is trying to help marketers, number one, have that voice that they can network with each other, but also give them tools and training that can help them elevate their marketing career. Because a lot of the problem with that 80% is that a lot of marketers don't know how to communicate with executives. Because think about this, you're a creative person, you talk in creative terms, it's all flowery. I wrote a song, all that kind of stuff, right? It's all fun. But then when I go talk to an executive, they're analytical. They want short and sweet. What's the ROI? And so a lot of marketers struggle with communicating some of those kinds of things so that they can articulate the value of what they're doing. So that's what this community, part of it is what it does, is it's creating that environment for marketers. On the other side of it is for business owners, because again, 50% of business owners don't believe they have the right marketing strategy. And so some of them are doing it themselves because they can't afford to hire somebody right now, or some of them might be hiring an agency, and eventually they're going to hire a marketer. Whatever that track is, I want to make sure that when you get to the point where you're hiring somebody to do marketing, you understand why they do what they do. So the other half of it is trying to teach small business leaders how to understand their marketing strategy so that they know why they should do SEO or why they shouldn't. Because again, there might be a scenario, not all businesses need the same thing. So I'm trying to help educate people with that. So what I've done is I've created this Azola Academy, which is basically a platform where there's e-learning on there, there's community, as well as just specialization kind of training and tools that kind of help everybody sort of just understand marketing better. And so you mentioned the blueprint thing. I'll just go ahead and do a plug for that. Is that what I've created is a 7-day email course. And the idea is that this is for small business owners who are saying, I don't understand marketing, I don't know what I need to do, and I have to figure this stuff out. All you have to do is go to blueprint.azolacreative.com. Fill it out. It's just an email address. And every day for a week, you'll get an email from me with some documents, some instructions on how to help build out your blueprint for marketing. Now, this is not I know everything about marketing now because I did this course for 7 days. But this is about getting your mindset in the right place so that the conversation starts to shift. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is help you understand how marketing works a little bit better. And that's what I'm trying to get out of it. So again, blueprint.azolacreative.com.
7-day small business marketing blueprint email course.
Yeah.
Blueprint.azolacreative.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pivot here for a second. Actually, I wanted to ask you a question before we go into the behavioral health stuff you're working on with health specialists and contracts. What's the worst client you've ever had? Characteristics. You don't have to name
Yeah,
them by
characteristically. The hardest clients to work with are usually the ones that parting with any kind of money to do marketing is really life or death for them. It puts way too much pressure on the relationship because when they have very little budget,
Yep.
and they're expecting marketing to be it's going to do it, and it's going to. They think maybe it's only going to take a couple
This
months
is
of
the
doing
silver
this.
bullet.
Exactly.
If I give you these last few dollars
That's
I
a
have.
really bad expectation. That's why again I don't
good.
like to do those things. I don't like to take that kind of business on. I scare people away sometimes because I'm like, look, I'm just telling you, don't do this. Spend the money doing something else, right?
That's a good business model, I think, too.
Yeah, I'd
You're not
rather
trying
be
to-
upfront about it. And I've left money on the table because of it. And so, but I'd rather you have that. I've sent clients to other marketers because sometimes I feel like we've kind of run our course where it's like, okay, I think I've done for you what I can do. But now I think there's somebody else that might actually take you to the next level that's different than what I would do it. And so I send people over that way too, because again, for me, it's about making sure that I want them to trust marketing. I don't care where it is. Like I want them to trust it. And if I can't deliver, then I'll send them to somebody else.
How much time we got left, Justin? I want to leave. Okay, we got 10 minutes here. Let's cover the behavioral health stuff,
Yeah.
right? What you're doing there, and then I want to leave some time because we're going to wrap up with music. Before we started with music and end with music. So, of the many things you do, you're also in a niche area, which goes a long way. Talk through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I really fell in love with the behavioral health space from a marketing standpoint. And I think the reason why is because everybody knows there's a mental health crisis. We know the challenges, especially come out of 2020, and how much harder it is. The challenge is that healthcare can be a little behind the times when it comes to how they communicate a lot of their message and their value and how, again, they productize things. Pure happenstance, really just from a referral, I wound up working with a behavioral health company that sells services to hospitals. And I fell in love with them as far as what it is they're doing. I love the philosophy of what they're trying to do. And it's really been good working with them. The thing that I've been able to help them do is that when you look at the hospitals in general, I think the stat is like 30% of rural hospitals are in danger of closing over the next 3 years.
It's probably higher than
Right?
that.
Yeah. And there's been a lot over the last 20 years. A lot more system-owned hospitals are at play now. The challenge is when you're selling big full services to companies, you can't go into a big system-owned hospital and sell the whole big package because they've got a lot of their systems in place. They've got a lot of their practices in place because it's a big bureaucracy, if I can say the word.
That's a tough word.
Right? Yeah. Say that 3 times fast.
Bureaucracy.
So what I have been doing with them as well as with other clients is I'm trying to take their big full-scale services and build almost micro products out of what they do, because what can happen in those bigger bureaucratic kind of companies is that they usually have budget for little projects that have a little bit more immediate ROI because they have a stopgap kind of scenario of what they need. So if I can help productize it so that they get a foot in the door that they otherwise would not have had, then that's a win, because now it might be that they can sell more of their services, but it started with that smaller package. It also changes the game plan around the rhythm of how you're selling, because in healthcare, a lot of contracts might be 9 months or more.
Yep.
And what's happening is that you're only waiting on a yes or a no. At the end of that 9-month engagement, you get told yes or no and you walk away. Doing it this way, I've taken 9-month sales cycles down to 90 days.
That's a
and
lot of
then
time.
it also gives you the ability to have upsell, cross-sell types of scenarios. So now you have a product portfolio that, okay, you didn't want that service or you don't need that. I have something else I can offer you now. So it doesn't have to just be a yes or no, see you next time. It becomes a lot more scalable for what you can do. That's what I'm trying to help. Again, a lot of larger organizations that do a lot of custom work is how do we sit and productize that so it's a little easier. Now, profitability is easier to predict in those kind of scenarios because you can kind of track it better, because you know that it's kind of a rinse and repeat. Not to say that you're not adding a certain personal element to it based on the client, but again, it's that 80-20 rule. 80% of it is the same, and maybe the 20% margin is that we're focused on your individual needs versus your individual needs, et cetera.
So these, again, we could talk about behavioral health and mental health specifically for hours upon hours. These companies you're helping out, how much politics is involved? So they're trying to get working with a large hospital system. And I won't name any names here in Northeast Florida, but to get your foot in the door and actually work with them and provide value, like you better know someone or have a big old check to donate to get your foot in that door.
You know what? I mean, I'll tell you, on my end, I can't speak to that well because I haven't experienced that as much on my end. What I can say is that when you're selling bigger packages, you have to have everybody in the committee approve it. And so you do have to get buy-in from everybody, and they may have their own things that are on their agenda. You're talking to maybe a CNO's in the room, the CEO, the CFO, and others. They might all have their own individual needs of what they want, but now they have to collectively agree to buy your service. When you're selling more at that micro level, it might be in one department's P&L that they have the budget for it already, and they don't have to go through all that same decision making. And so that's why it can be a little bit more efficient sometimes too.
Gotcha. What else you got? Any shout outs? Anything you're excited about? I want to leave some time for the music here.
Yeah, no, like
I
mean,
always love shout outs too, but anything random you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, let's because Trey, you're full of questions. What's something on your mind?
Well, I really wanted to ask you about organic growth, and if really you're the guy that gets called upon whenever you kind of reach your organic growth capacity. Is that kind of where
That's a
you
good
would
question.
come
I like
in?
that.
Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, are you saying as far as when I would come into the scenario of working with that client, or are you talking about?
I got it. So 212 Benefits. I'm going to use
Okay.
we sponsor this show. I'm going to use this as an example.
Okay.
We are growing. We have some organic marketing tactics. Our sales practices seem to be working, but we just seem to hit a plateau, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is that
Yes,
the time that you're
That is
coming
the
in?
time. That's a great time because now you have a history that we can find out what worked and why did it work, and we can try to massage that. Going back to your massage marketing company, and we can start to build plans for going forward. Again, there may be a lot of missed opportunities you're just not recognizing. It could be that you not to say it's dumb luck, but sometimes it's dumb luck, and you just have to find out what that actually is and then figure that out for the future. Yeah, I tend not to work with a lot of startups because of the fact that they're in a different world mindset wise right now. So for me, it's better when I'm working with companies that do have some history and they're trying to figure out how to take it maybe from 5 million to 20 million, or something like that scenario. That's an ideal fit.
Oh,
Okay, one other one. This is my final one. All right, data. I want to know where are you getting your data from, or data, whatever, because obviously people are familiar with YouTube analytics or whatever, but you're on a different level of what you're looking at. Could you explain to the average person what you're looking at?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you this first of all. Look, there's a lot of data out there that doesn't get leveraged because everybody wants data, but data is hard. And here's another problem with marketing departments. A lot of modern marketing departments, it's a creative team. You hire somebody because they're creative to do something, but now you're almost expecting them to become data analysts, which they're not. It's a very different mindset as far as doing that type of job. There needs to be more data analysts in a marketing role to help leverage that data. But to your point, what I always tell people, again, I'm a huge website guy. So to me, a website is your single source of truth because everything you're doing, whether you're doing YouTube or you're doing SEO or you're doing email or social media, any of it, if all of it is being funneled into your website from a lead gen standpoint or a sales standpoint, the website can collect tons of data that you can understand where your customers are coming from, maybe what pages they're looking at. There's a lot of data you can get out of your website without being a super hyper company that's got tons and tons of data. You can do this just as a small business, but you have to send them to something that you own. That's why I don't like to put too much faith on third-party things like a social media platform because they can change their terms and conditions tomorrow, and that eliminates my ability to do things. SEO, same thing. I mean, Google changes their algorithms sometimes, and it affects businesses. So you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket from a marketing standpoint, and you also bring it into my house. If you come to my website, now I have more control of what that conversation is going to be, and I can learn from what you're doing.
Great. I was going to say that's good. I'm just interested in this information. We talked a lot about healthcare today, didn't we?
Yeah.
Greg Davis, founder of Azola Creative. We're going to wrap up a little early, but stick around because we're doing another product marketing melody. This is another one that you wrote, right?
Yeah.
So, Greg Davis, thanks for joining us. That's What the Health Just Happened.
Here comes no one to buy my product. Here comes no one, and that sucks. It's over. I don't get it. We spent 2 years building out our plans. I don't get it. We waited till now to talk to marketing. Here comes no one to buy my product. Here comes no one, and that sucks. It's over. It's over.
That's a hard song to play, man.
It's a very hard song to play.